I started job hunting after returning from studying abroad. Having been out of touch for so long, I quickly discovered how bad the job market was. 9 out of 10 companies I sent my resume to never responded, and the one that did just left me on read. So when I received an interview invitation from one of the nation's top companies, I went eagerly. When I opened the door to the interview room, the smile on my face froze the moment I saw Siasinian. Siasinian. My ex-boyfriend. He was sitting right in the middle of a panel of interviewers, the center of their attention, his handsome face looking at me without a flicker of expression. As if he were looking at a complete stranger. I faltered for a second, but quickly composed myself and sat down for the interview. My only hope was that he wouldn't try to sabotage me because of our history. The interview began. After my brief self-introduction, it was the interviewer's turn. Siasinian picked up my resume, skimming it before suddenly speaking. An impressive resume. Just when I thought he was about to ask some technical questions, he said, "But I am a bit curious, Miss Sue. Why did you study abroad?" My heart sank as I remembered how things were back then. Siasinian and I had gotten together in college. We were in different clubs at the time and only exchanged contact info after a joint social event. After that, Siasinian started coincidentally showing up wherever I was, finding all sorts of excuses to give me gifts and even bribing my roommates. I'm a pretty direct person, so I just asked him outright if he was into me and wanted to date. He said, "Let's." And just like that, we were together. It was only after we started dating, through spending time with him and from things people around us would casually drop, that I realized just how powerful Siasinian's family was, powerful enough to ignore any rules and live exactly as they pleased. My family, on the other hand, was middle class at best. The difference in our backgrounds was a chasm that seemed impossible to cross. Perhaps Siasinian was just playing around and had never considered a real future with me. What confirmed this for me happened one day between classes, when I overheard him telling a friend, "It doesn't really matter who I'm with." Hearing him say that, I found I wasn't even surprised. It made a strange kind of sense. How could a rich boy like him fall in love so easily? Even if, by some small chance, it was possible, why would I be the one he'd be serious about? So I followed through on my long-held plan to study abroad. Before I left, I sent him a single breakup text, and then I blocked his number. I took a deep breath. A choice for my own personal development. Hearing my answer, Siasinian smirked, his tone laced with sarcasm. Was that choice so important? Important enough to make you give up everything? His eyes were locked on my face, probably searching for any sign of regret. But I simply smiled and looked him straight in the eye. Yes. Very important. Important enough for me to give up everything. I put heavy stress on the word everything. After all, he was the one who gave up on me first. How was I in the wrong? The air was silent for a long moment before Siasinian said through gritted teeth, "Fine. Very rational. But don't you think that's a little too cold, Miss Sue? That's a personal matter. Are there any other questions you'd like to ask?" His words were barbed, and I didn't want to say any more. This interview was probably a bust. The other interviewers looked at each other, sensing the unusual atmosphere, and didn't dare to speak. He let out a cold snort and didn't press the matter. Instead, he said, "Let's officially begin the interview now." I froze. I'd been about to stand up and leave. Wasn't this the interview? But he ignored my obvious confusion and asked a question that had nothing to do with the position I was applying for. 10 bosses, 9 cups of milk tea. How do you distribute them? Hearing this question, I laughed. The man was so petty. He clearly didn't want me to pass the interview, but he still had to ask this kind of question just to mess with me. If it had been a stranger, I might have said, "Drink what?" Nobody's drinking. But now, since there was no way I was going to pass this interview anyway, a reckless impulse took over. I decided to give him a taste of utter humiliation. So, I slowly stood up, walked over to the handsome man in the center, and under everyone's shocked gazes, I grabbed the back of his head and kissed him. When the kiss was over, I looked at the beet-red Siasinian and smirked. This particular boss shouldn't have milk tea, so he'll go without. The interviewer's shocked gazes shifted between me and Siasinian before finally landing on me. From their completely undisguised expressions, I knew exactly what they were thinking. Asterisk she's beautiful, and her resume is a perfect fit. Too bad she's crazy asterisk. Finally, someone snapped out of it and yelled, "Who brought this person in?" The assistant quickly apologized. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Xia, I'll have her removed at once." Suddenly, the assistant's voice was cut off. "You're hired." The assistant? Me? The interviewers? Seeing everyone staring at him with bizarre expressions, Xia Xinian cleared his throat. "Our company is in dire need of someone this shameless." Me. So I started the job, promptly earning myself the nickname "the girl who forced a kiss." I'd figured I'd be bumping into Xia Xinian constantly, but for several days straight, his office door stayed shut tight, the blinds drawn. He probably didn't want to see me. The story of our interview had already made the rounds, getting more exaggerated with each telling. He was likely laying low to avoid any association with me. It felt a little weird, but I was also relieved. Some coworkers couldn't stand me, saying I'd used dirty tricks. Others were actually impressed, asking if I would have gone through with it if the interviewer had been ugly. "Why do you think I picked him out of everyone there?" I said. "Because he was hot, obviously." Personal issues aside, based on looks alone, I wasn't exactly losing out by kissing Xia Xinian. And as luck would have it, at that exact moment, the perpetually closed door suddenly swung open. Xia Xinian stood there, the expression on his face as he stared at me, complicated. Except his earlobes were bright red. My coworker jumped and immediately whipped around to face her desk. Xia Xinian didn't say a thing, just walked right past us without a sideways glance. From that day on, it was like a switch flipped in him. His door wasn't always shut anymore, and he started wandering out of his office frequently. This put a lot of my colleagues on edge, terrified they'd get caught slacking off. I kept a straight face and focused on my own work. Compared to Xia Xinian, I was far more concerned with my job. A coworker whispered, "Wei, why do you think Mr. Xia keeps coming out? Is he mad at us or something?" I glanced in the direction Xia Xinian was returning from. Looked like the restroom. Maybe his kidneys aren't so good? My coworker's eyes went wide in realization. Oh, that explains everything. I was wondering why a catch like Mr. Xia is still single. So it's a kidney problem. No wonder. It's only human. Suddenly, I felt a prickle on the back of my neck. I turned around. Xia Xinian was staring at me, his gaze dark. "As for whether my kidneys are good or not," he said, his voice low, "wouldn't you know best?" Me. Coworker. After that day, the way everyone at work looked at me changed. I went from being one of the gossip-loving coworkers to the woman having an affair with the boss. I was speechless. Does being healthy automatically mean he's good in bed? Then again, Xia Xinian is pretty incredible. Remembering the times I'd fainted in the past, my face couldn't stop burning. I have to admit, if I could set aside the real-world problems, I'd love to be with him. But ever since I came to terms with the gap between us, I've given up on any ideas about him. Even though we work at the same company and share the X title, he's the CEO, and I'm just a regular employee. The gap is so vast that it kills any romantic notions, leaving me to focus only on working hard for a promotion and a raise. And yet, he seems to be everywhere. Just like, back when he was pursuing me. A sudden downpour started that night. I tried to hail a cab, but there were more than 30 people already in line. I sighed, lamenting how tough life is for a working stiff, and decided to wait for the rain to let up before walking to the subway. Just then, headlights flashed, and a Maybach suddenly pulled up in front of me. I quickly took 2 steps back, terrified I might scratch it. Just as I was about to move further away, the window rolled down, revealing Xia Xinian's infuriatingly handsome face. He stared at me. "Get in." People around us were staring, their eyes full of envy. Not wanting to cause a scene, I quickly got in. Xia Xinian's car drove steadily in the direction of my place. I only mumbled a thank you as I got in and stayed silent after that. I didn't ask him how he knew where I lived. Maybe he remembered our relationship fondly and wanted to rekindle things, but I couldn't reciprocate. The things he'd said back then, his status now, they were both hurdles I couldn't get over. But then Xia Xinian broke the silence. The day of the interview, he asked, "Why did you kiss me?" I was silent for a long time. I heard my own voice say, a European-style greeting. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. Xie Xian scoffed. Suwei, you're still as infuriating as ever. Given that he was my boss now, I couldn't argue with him like I used to. So, with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, I said, thanks. You have a real gift for it yourself. Xie Xian. The car shot forward, slicing through the curtain of rain, and silence fell inside once more. I had no intention of speaking again, but when I saw the massive puddle up ahead, I knew I couldn't stay quiet. There's standing water up ahead, you. Suddenly, with a loud splash, the engine died. Xie Xian blinked a couple of times, then turned to look at me, his face a mask of pure innocence. Fortunately, we had already pulled up in front of my apartment building. After we got out, Xie Xian called for a tow truck. But the call wouldn't go through. We huddled under an awning, staring at each other. What now? Xie Xian asked. I can't get home. It was late, and the downpour showed no signs of letting up, so I made a polite offer. Why don't you stay at my place for the night? I figured any normal person would refuse. But I'd forgotten this was Xie Xian. His promotion to CEO had only made him more shameless than he was before. Okay. My apartment was close, but there was still a short walk to the entrance. Just as I was debating whether to make a run for it, a jacket was draped over my head. The scent of Frisia and his warmth instantly enveloped me. I froze, then quickly threw the suit jacket back at him. If we weren't going to rekindle things, I didn't want any special treatment from him. Xie Xian looked down at the jacket in his hands, his expression souring. You'll regret that, he said. Not a chance, I said. Then he slowly draped the jacket over his own head. Run for it. Question mark. By the time I registered what was happening, Xie Xian was already a good distance away. Asshole. I hurried to catch up. One chasing the other, I caught up to him quickly. By the time we reached the door, the suit jacket was somehow back on my head. I took out my key to open the door, but I noticed Xie Xian didn't come in. He was staring intently at the shoe rack outside the door, his fists clenched. Following his gaze, I saw a pair of men's leather shoes. I live alone, so I put them there for safety. Not only that, there was also a man's shirt hanging on the balcony. After all, women who live alone are more easily targeted by certain criminals. Pretending a man lives here makes me feel a little safer. There's a man in your house? Xie Xian said, his face ashen. Oh, that's my boyfriend. He's on a business trip and won't be back for a few days, I lied without batting an eye. It would be for the best if this made Xie Xian give up on me. Who is he? What's his name? What about his parents? What's his family situation? How long have you known each other that you're already living together? He must have bad intentions, how could you? I gave him a cool look. I like him. Those 3 simple words cut off Xie Xian's endless tirade. What about me? His expression shifted several times, the thought crossing his mind but left unspoken. He was so angry he didn't say a word all night. His tall frame was curled up on the sofa, and for some reason, he looked a little pathetic. By early the next morning, Xie Xian was already gone. I stared at the soy milk and vegetable buns on the table, a little speechless. After all these years, he still remembered what I liked to eat. It seemed like he was so in love. But then why did he have to say those words back then? It's the same no matter who I'm with. In other words, even if it hadn't been me with him back then, he would have draped his coat over some other girl, would have remembered her eating habits just the same. I was never the special one. I didn't touch anything on the table. Instead, I grabbed a pastry on my way back to the office. As luck would have it, Xie Xian saw me. He looked at the pastry in my hand, his expression freezing for a moment. In the end, he said nothing, just walked into his office with a cold face and slammed the door. A coworker muttered to herself, "What's with Mr. Xie? So furious this early in the morning?" "Maybe it's his time of the month," I replied. My coworker's head shot up. Seeing it was me, she gave an awkward smile and quickly scurried back to her desk. After that, I don't know what wire got crossed in Xie Xian's brain, but he started radiating a chill from the inside out, like a walk-in freezer. Anyone called into his office was either torn to shreds or told to revise their proposals endlessly. Suddenly, everyone was on edge, double-checking their work for any mistakes, terrified of being singled out. I was no exception. In a single day, I was called into his office 5 times and had to revise my proposal 3 times. Did you come up with this proposal with your feet? I don't pay you a high salary to look at this garbage. Do it over. The file was slammed down on the desk. Siasinian glared at me, his brows furrowed in anger. For some reason, he looked like a husky with its fur all puffed up. Almost as a reflex, I went up and slapped him. Smack, we both froze. Back when we were together, if Siasinian got too annoying, I would either kiss him to shut him up or slap him. Obviously, kissing wasn't appropriate now, so coming to my senses, I realized slapping him wasn't exactly appropriate either. What if he fired me for this? Siasinian stood frozen, touching his face. His eyes actually started to turn red, and for some reason, it felt like he was savoring something. Me? ? Is this muscle memory? This version is fine. No more changes. I shot Siasinian a look that was hard to put into words. I left the office feeling the same way. And I watched with that same complicated feeling as the group of eavesdropping colleagues scattered, especially when he swaggered out with a red handprint on his face. I knew I'd been misunderstood again. People's prejudice really is a mountain you can't move. After that, whenever Siasinian threw a fit, someone would beg me to step in and reign in the drama king. Here's how it went. 1. Siasinian loses his temper, my colleagues suffer, and I get summoned. 2. I walk into his office and slap him, stone-faced. 3. Siasinian stops making trouble, and everyone's happy. Once, after I slapped him, Siasinian glared at me, pointed to his other, unslapped cheek, and said, Su Wei, if you've got the guts, hit this side. He'd even been feeling like his face was getting lopsided lately. Me. I have to say, I could see his masochistic potential back in college, and now he was finally developing into a full-blown pervert. I granted his wish and gave him another slap. The company started a new project and put me in charge. To prove myself, I practically lived at the office, and my meals became irregular. One evening, my already troubled stomach was suddenly gripped by sharp, twisting pains. I was in so much pain I clutched my stomach. A colleague was frightened by my deathly pale face, but before she could even call 911, Siasinian, who must have heard the commotion, came out of his office, scooped me up in his arms, and left. By the time I came to my senses, I was already lying in a hospital bed. Siasinian was sitting beside me, his face grim. Su Wei, I remember you didn't have stomach problems in college. How did you end up with a perforated stomach now? How on earth has he been taking care of you? It's been this long and not a single phone call. What do you even like about him? I was a bit dazed, and it took me a moment to remember that the he was talking about was my made-up boyfriend. I said sheepishly, he's on a business trip, he's very busy. Being busy is no excuse to neglect your girlfriend. His eyes grew red-rimmed. I used to take such good care of you. What about him? If he dares to ignore you when you're hospitalized with stomach problems today, he'll dare to disappear on you when you're pregnant and giving birth in the future. What's the use of a boyfriend like that? Me. What does one have to do with the other? But the old Siasinian really did take good care of me. Take meals, for example. Sometimes, when I had no morning classes and wanted to sleep in, he would be waiting downstairs at my dorm at 8:30 sharp, without fail. He'd bring me breakfast and wouldn't leave until he'd watched me finish it. He'd say, skipping breakfast can give you gallstones. You can go back to sleep after you eat. The memory made my eyes well up. But given our current relationship, it wasn't appropriate to talk about things like that anymore. I didn't answer him. 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Siasinian held a big meeting and adjusted everyone's workload. Or rather, not so much everyone's as mine. The hodgepodge of less important tasks I'd had on my plate, aside from the new project, were all reassigned to other people. I immediately felt a huge weight off my shoulders. One day, Siasinian walked up to my desk and knocked twice. In a couple of days, you're coming on a business trip with me. It might be for about a week. I knew it was for an industry conference. For a new hire like me, an opportunity to meet the leaders of our industry was one I definitely had to seize. I agreed immediately. But Siasinian didn't leave. He looked at me with a strange, dark glint in his eye. Aren't you going to tell your boyfriend? I'd almost forgotten about my fictional boyfriend. I had agreed way too quickly. Just as I was about to explain, Siasinian cut in, speaking rapidly, never mind, it was just a casual question. Don't read too much into it. Me. At the mixer, well-dressed people chatted eagerly. I followed behind Siasinian, and was introduced to quite a few people. Suddenly, someone came over. I took a closer look, and my heart sank. It was the person who'd prompted Siasinian to say, "It's the same no matter who you're with." "Sian, fancy seeing you here. Didn't expect you to come in person." Jichin slung a buddy-buddy arm around Siasinian's shoulder, grinning wide enough to show off his pearly whites. Then his eyes landed on me. "Well, look at that, Suwei's here too. You two are still joined at the hip, huh? Always all over each other back in college, and it looks like nothing's changed." I rubbed the bridge of my nose, wanting to explain that we weren't together anymore. Siasinian spoke first. "You talk too much." Jichin just chuckled, ignoring him to complain to me. "Suwei, you have no idea how infuriating this guy used to be. I was having some trouble with my girlfriend back then, and when I asked him for advice, can you believe he said it's the same no matter who you end up with? He was head over heels in love himself, but tells me it's all the same? I mean, seriously? A humble brag like that, wasn't he afraid of getting punched? That lovesick idiot drove me nuts. He couldn't even go 2 sentences without bragging. I'd ask him what I should do, and he'd say, 'How did you know my baby bought me a matching bracelet?' He just kept going on and on, 'My baby got me a matching bracelet.' God, it was so annoying." "So that thing Siasinian said, it didn't mean what I thought it did?" I froze, completely unsure how to react. Siasinian quickly clamped a hand over Jichen's mouth and dragged him away. I stared at the back of his neck, which had turned beet red. Inside, it felt like I'd knocked over an entire spice rack. So, he hadn't been disrespecting me. I was the one who'd been so sure of myself. I never even asked, I just misunderstood him. But even if I could do it over, I probably still wouldn't have asked. The gap between us was just too wide. It left me without the courage to confront him. I was afraid that Siasinian was exactly the person I'd imagined, that he would crush my pride under his heel. So to protect that pathetic scrap of pride, I chose to move abroad. It even gave birth to a secret, almost pathological mindset, *C? I'm the one who dumped you. I didn't wait for you to get bored and toss me aside. I was the one in control *. I went back to the hotel alone, wondering what I should do about Siasinian. Before I could even begin to untangle my thoughts, Jichin called. "Suwei, Siasinian is wasted. What's your room number? I'll help him up." I gave him the room number and rushed out to meet them. When I saw Siasinian, his limbs were limp and his eyes were glazed over and watery. He wasn't just drunk, he was completely plastered. Jichin dumped him on the bed. I said, "I'll go to my room and get something to help him sober up." I'd tossed it in my bag on a whim for this business trip, and now it was coming in handy. Jichin nodded, then it suddenly dawned on him. "Wait a second, you guys got 2 rooms?" I felt a little awkward. We actually broke up. Just then, the dead-drunk Siasinian shot up from the bed like a zombie. "Who said we broke up? We did not break up." His thin lips, red as blood, were now pouted in a sulk. "I don't accept it. I don't accept it. It doesn't count." My face flushed hot. I said quickly, "Don't listen to him, he's drunk and talking nonsense." "I'm not drunk. And I'm not talking nonsense." Siasinian tugged on the corner of my shirt, tilting his head up to look at me. Like a heartbroken child who'd just had his candy stolen. Jichin gave an awkward laugh and then beat a hasty retreat. This was someone else's private mess, and as an outsider, he couldn't fix it. I sighed in resignation. "Siasinian, let go of me." "No." His eyes were glistening, and he was pouting so hard you could hang a 10-pound weight from his lip. My face went cold. "I'm counting to 3. 1, 2. As imposing as Siasinian was at the company, deep down, he was one of those guys who acts cold but is warm inside, a total closet romantic who loves to push my buttons but gets shy in a heartbeat. Every time he acted up and got on my nerves, I'd give him this exact warning. It was always remarkably effective. Siasinian reluctantly let go of my shirt, smoothing out the wrinkles with a wounded expression. Then he just hung his head and went silent. Giving me the silent treatment? I rubbed my temples, then crouched down and held his face, explaining patiently, Siasinian, we've graduated. His gaze was hazy, and he looked a little dazed. Now that we're out of school, the huge gap between us is going to become obvious in a heartbeat. You're on a level I can't even reach. We're not from the same world, do you understand? Siasinian was silent for a moment, then said petulantly, I don't get it. I don't want to be apart from you. If you're worried I'm too high up, then I'll just come down. You can't just say things like that. Even if Siasinian was willing, I knew his family would never agree. After all, he was the heir to the Xie family fortune. If he really threw it all away for me, I was afraid I'd be all over the news the next day. I gritted my teeth. Whether you get it or not, the fact is I have a boyfriend now. So just give up. I guess our talk worked. After we got back to the office, Siasinian started deliberately avoiding me. For example, if he saw me coming, he'd intentionally take a detour. Another example, one morning, a colleague was having soy milk and a vegetable bun for breakfast when Siasinian shot him a glare. The terrified colleague stammered, Mr. Xie, do you want some? Siasinian glanced at me and sneered, I never eat that kind of stuff. The innocent colleague caught in the crossfire. Me, the actual target of his veiled insult. Around lunchtime, my cousin called. Hey, little sis, I came in from the countryside today. I'm passing through your city on my way to see your sister-in-law. Are you free for lunch? I've got some time, so I was thinking we could grab a bite. When I was a kid, my parents worked in the city, so they left me with relatives back in our hometown. The village kids were wild and loved to pick on the new girl. My grandma was too old to do much about it. Luckily, my cousin was there to stick up for me. He beat up every single kid who tried anything, until they didn't dare bully me anymore. Because of that, we're closer than real siblings. Now that he was here, I had to treat him to a proper meal. To show him how much it meant to me, I picked a high-end restaurant near my office. You don't have to spend so much money on me, my cousin said, a little self-consciously. I told him I made $30,000 a month and that he should order whatever he wanted. His jaw dropped, and he stopped protesting. He said he was on his way to see his wife. He had been working back in the countryside while she worked in the city. After our grandmother passed away, he decided to come join her. They were planning to rent a bigger apartment and build a life here together. My cousin gave a bashful grin. His skin was tan from working outdoors, but with his well-defined features and his neat, clean clothes, he had a kind of rugged, down-to-earth handsomeness you rarely see in the city. I smiled too. Things were only going to get better, right? What's so funny? A low voice murmured from behind me. I blinked, and suddenly Siasinian had plopped himself down in the seat right beside me. Me. Wei, who's this? My cousin asked cautiously. My boss. Her ex-boyfriend. We spoke at the same time. I gave Siasinian a tight-lipped smile. If this were back in the day, I would have already been pinching his love handles. Siasinian, however, completely ignored me. He looked my cousin up and down and then scoffed. Su Wei, is this what your standards have sunk to since you left me? I'm better looking than him, I have a better body, I'm rich, family-oriented, and practically a homemaker. How exactly do I not measure up to him? I guess a wild pig can't appreciate fine dining. You must be starving. I opened my mouth. He's in. You shut up. Siasinian snapped. My cousin's expression hardened, and he opened his mouth to say something. You shut up too. Siasinian was seeing red. He rounded on my cousin. And you, I don't even want to get started on you. Do you have any idea what she's been through recently? Where were you when she was standing helplessly downstairs in a downpour, waiting for the rain to stop? Where were you when her stomach pains landed her in the hospital? My cousin looked at me with alarm. You were sick? Siasinian scoffed. A little late to be concerned now, don't you think? Hypocrite. In conclusion, you fail on all counts. My cousin lowered his head in shame. He had no idea who this guy was, but if his little sister had been suffering, he felt he was partly to blame as her big brother. I'm sorry, he said. I really didn't know. I'll pay more attention to her from now on. If sorry was good enough, what would we need cops for? Siasinian retorted. From now on? Are you so sure you two have a from now on? My cousin looked completely baffled. A ringing phone saved him just in time. My cousin went to answer it, leaving Siasinian and me to stare at each other. Siasinian, what the hell is wrong with you? I laughed, furious. That guy was actually. Stay out of it. This is between men. Don't take his side. Siasinian cut me off in a panic, then shot up and fled. Question mark. Psycho. I needed to go apologize to my cousin. But after waiting for a while, there was still no sign of him. Then I heard a commotion coming from the direction of the restrooms. A bad feeling washed over me. When I got closer, I was speechless. Siasinian had punched my cousin. There was a fresh bruise on my cousin's face, and Siasinian had him by the collar. A crowd was gathered around them, trying to break up the fight. I rushed forward and pulled Siasinian away. What are you doing? Siasinian's face was livid, his eyes burning with rage. He was on the phone with another woman behind her back, calling her baby. Shut up. I rolled my eyes, having had enough. I turned and gently touched the bruise on my cousin's face. Cousin, are you okay? I asked, my heart aching for him. He's cheating on you, and you'd rather have a guy like that than me. Wait. Cousin? Siasinian froze as if he'd been struck by lightning, his eyes going blank as he stared at us. My cousin winced in pain and huffed, Sis, I was just having a nice chat on the phone with your sister-in-law when this ex-boyfriend of yours comes out of nowhere and punches me. What is wrong with him? Good thing he's an ex. Otherwise, there's no way I'd ever give you my blessing for this relationship. Realizing it was all a misunderstanding, the crowd of onlookers dispersed. I comforted my cousin as I walked him to the train station. Siasinian followed behind us, his head hanging low, not saying a word. It wasn't until my cousin was gone that he looked up at me, his expression pathetic. If he had a tail, it would have been drooping between his legs. I'm sorry. I shot him an annoyed glare. Even if he was my boyfriend, what business is it of yours if he cheated on me? You don't just go around punching people. Siasinian lowered his head, his dark eyes like whirlpools trying to pull me in. I was angry, that you would rather choose a guy like that than choose me. My breath hitched. His direct gaze felt like a brand, forcing me to look away. You still can't just punch people. He continued, as if talking to himself. I was angry that he didn't cherish the person I hold so dear. Angry at you for not loving yourself enough to be with someone like him. And I was angriest at myself. Because you were so sure about us ending things, but I still can't stop myself from trying to get close to you, again and again. His voice trailed off. He suddenly looked bashful, then tentatively tugged on the hem of my shirt. Sue, please don't push me away anymore. Can we get back together? The sudden confession turned my brain to mush. On autopilot, I stuck to my lie. I have a boyfriend. Siasinian suddenly stepped forward, closing the distance between us. I scrambled back a few steps, but he grabbed my hand and pulled me into his arms. The train station was bustling with people. In a moment of panic, I reached out and pinched the soft skin at his waist. Let go of me. Everyone's watching. I hissed. The pain made Siasinian grit his teeth, but he didn't let go. I heard you talking to your cousin, he said, his voice low. You admitted you're single. You lied to me on purpose. Which means you still have feelings for me. Can we get back together? Baby. Siasinian buried his head in the crook of my neck, his warm breath brushing against my skin. I broke out in goosebumps instantly and pushed him away. Let me go. He started acting like a brat. No. If I let you go, you'll just run off again. I heard everything at the hotel the other day. I'll handle what you're worried about. We can sign an agreement. If I ever betray you, I'll walk away with nothing. You don't have to worry about my family, either. My old man has plenty of kids, but aside from me, most of them are useless. He'll have to rely on me from now on, so he won't interfere with my choice of partner. Please don't leave me again, baby. His whining was getting on my nerves. I'm counting to 3. That sobered him up. He grudgingly stood up straight and glared at me. I told him to win my cousin over first, and only then would I consider getting back together with him. I was raised back in my hometown. Although my parents treated me well enough after I grew up, compared to my younger brother and sister, they treated me more like an outsider. So for me, other than my grandma, the most important person in my life is my cousin. And Siasinian, who had just recently and thoroughly pissed off said cousin. To be honest with myself, it wasn't that I had no feelings left for Siasinian. After all, when we were together, things had been pretty good. But as for whether I wanted to get back together, I honestly didn't know. When you're faced with such a huge gap between you, no matter what the other person promises, the one in the weaker position is always going to feel insecure. I'd only brought up my cousin to give Siasinian a hurdle, to get him to stop bothering me and buy myself some time to think. The next day, my cousin called me. Hey, sis, that man of yours is a pretty good guy. I misjudged him yesterday. Me? Wait, since when was he my man? 'Cause, if Siasinian is threatening you, just grunt. My cousin laughed sheepishly. Sia came and explained everything. Turns out, he thought I was your boyfriend and that I was flirting with other women. That's why he hit me. An honest mistake, right? I said sternly, 'Cause, be honest with me. Did Siasinian threaten you? My cousin stammered. I knew it. Don't be scared, 'cause. Just tell me what's wrong, and I'll take care of it. Cousin, sis, don't get mad when I tell you this. What? Well, your man, he heard about my situation with your sister-in-law, and he had someone deliver a huge condo downtown to me. I kept telling him no, but he insisted. Said it was compensation for hitting me. I just couldn't refuse, and now I don't know how to give it back. Me, damn capitalist. Sis, you can decide what to do with the condo. But I think Sia is a sincere guy, and he really cares about you. If you like him too, don't make him wait too long. But if you don't like him, don't force yourself just to meet someone else's expectations. More than anything, I just want you to be happy. After I hung up, my eyes were a little misty. What my cousin said was surprisingly touching. When I got back to my desk, the blinds on Siasinian's office were raised. Inside, he was peeking out furtively. The moment I looked over, he snapped his head back and pretended to be engrossed in his work. Schemer. After I sat down, Siasinian walked out of his office. All of my coworkers' eyes immediately fixed on him. He cleared his throat softly and said, Sue, come in for a second. There's a proposal that needs to be adjusted. Then he turned and almost tripped over his own feet. Me. Once the office door was closed, Siasinian looked at my red-rimmed eyes and started to panic. He strode over and grabbed my hand. You were crying? Did your cousin say something to you? I didn't mean anything by it, I just wanted to apologize. Who's your cousin? Don't call him that. My straight face almost cracked. Siasinian reminded me solemnly, he isn't now, but he might be in the future. I mean, you said that once your cousin forgave me, you'd get back together with me. What I said was that I'd consider it, I told him with a casual smile. I don't know why, but seeing him look like a kicked puppy, all wronged but not daring to get mad, just made me want to tease him. He snapped out of it and said through gritted teeth, Sue Wei, you're playing with me. I'm going to punish you. Before I could even process what he was going to do, an arm wrapped around the small of my back and pulled me into his arms. Then, he tilted my chin up, and a fiery kiss landed on my lips. By the time he was done, my eyes were glistening. Siasinian grinned like the cat that got the cream. He lowered his head and whispered huskily in my ear, if you don't agree to get back together, I'll just keep kissing you until you do.